What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Engineers of Filters podcast, episode 155. I'm your host, Jacob Thompson, and joining me, damn it, I'm doing the red string one again. I'm sorry, boys. It's been too long. Tonight, I am drinking a beer that I have had for a while because I got it in Minnesota. So it's been a hot minute. But this is the Lost 40 New England IPA out of Portage Brewing Company. It's aight. I went to the liquor store in my hometown. I was like, yo, you guys got any good hazies? He's like, oh, we got a lot of hazies. And he's like, this one sells a lot. And I'm like, all right, I like the can art. I'll go with it. It's fine. I probably wouldn't buy it again. I've had better hazy IPAs. So, there you go. That's the Lost 40 for you.
Fair. I'm Joseph, and I'm drinking a Heineken because I got it for free for tuning someone's skis. So, free beer.
Nice.
Tastes like a Heineken.
I say Heineken isn't that bad.
I like
it's
Heineken.
fine.
I like free beer
nothing.
is the best beer. We've said that so many times.
Exactly. So, can't complain about that.
All right. Well, I'm Gabe, and I am drinking the Insight Brewing Trollway American IPA. Pretty popular one around the Twin Cities.
They updated their can art.
Yeah. I don't know if I like it. I like the old, like the simpler one more.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, it's still cool, but the old one was just black, and then like the logo and color was really dope.
Yeah. I mean, it's got the stone arch on the bottom. I don't know. It's a good one. I wish I could taste it. I can't still. I'm overcoming COVID and apologize for the voice.
He's the first one on the podcast to go, man. No, Dayton had it.
No,
Dayton had it.
I
Yeah.
had
Yeah,
it.
sorry.
Yeah, not all that bad. I'm on the bounce back, but tasting things is weird. It's not like gone, but it's very diluted. So
Yeah, a damn shame.
Yeah, I'm Dayton. And I'm drinking the Outer Light Brewing Company Dragon and Phoenix Blackberry Lager.
Ooh.
I don't know why. I just had a real hankering for some lagers recently. No particular reason why. I'm kind of disappointed because I can't find any Oberon out here yet. But it'll come out here eventually, I suppose.
Do they distribute out there?
Yeah, they do.
Have you looked on their beer finder? Okay.
Yeah. I bought it last year here.
Oh.
How's the blackberry flavor in that one?
It's kind of overpowering, but honestly, very good. Very good. It's a very easy drinker. I mean, it's only a 5% beer, so like it's not like I'm freaking slugging down a 2-hearted or double 2-hearted or anything like that. So,
hey, sometimes it's what you need. It's an easy, good tasting beer.
Yep.
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. As always, you can find our show the first Monday of every month. We're in the monthly phase right now, and we'll get into more reasons why, actually, as we get into this episode. But we're doing monthly, so the first Monday of every month, you'll get an episode from us. You can find our show on podcast services as well as YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on socials and Twitch. Links are in the description below. But let's get into our update. We haven't seen each other for a while. We talked a little bit here and there, but we haven't been talking as much, so I want to hear from you guys. I'm going to go to... I'm going to go to myself first. How about that?
Oh.
It's my birthday. I'm taking control. All right. Also, it's just the least exciting of anyone. So yeah, last month, getting to the end of the semester. As you guys know, April is, typically the last month. The last week of classes was this week. Finals week next week. How many finals? So I'm chilling. But I tell you what, boys, I am so sick of school. I am so sick of taking classes. I had a class this semester called presentation skills where I had to make a 40-minute presentation. Oh. God, that shit sucked. I had 4 PowerPoint presentations this semester, and I have a poster presentation in 2 weeks. So I'm sick of talking about my research. I just want to be left alone. But that's I don't want to get in my way in grad school. But yeah, we're looking at the end for the semester. This summer I'll be back in the lab, but I'm actually taking the last 2 weeks of May off because my friend Chris, friend of the show, is getting married. So I'll be in Minnesota for the last 2 weeks of May. So hopefully see Gabe and Joseph as well during that. But yeah, just trying to get to the end point. But one thing that exciting that's happened this week is for my birthday, I decided to get myself something that would help me be more active. So I went and bought a little game called Ring Fit Adventure. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. I'm assuming
I
Gabe
haven't
is
heard of it.
because he has a Switch. Joseph, you know about it?
Yeah.
All right. So Dayton, what this is like the Switch's version of like Wii Fit. They decided to make a fitness game, and how it works is you have the two Joy Cons for the Switch. One of them goes in a strap on your leg, so it can measure your leg movement, and the other one goes in this ring. And I have it here to show you. So this is
show and tell.
The Ring Con is what they call it because they have to add con to everything. So the
Uh-huh.
other Joy-Con slides in right here,
Yep.
and it measures you pushing in and pulling out, and as well as just kind of movement in general. And it's really, really cool. Like, I shout out to the engineers at Nintendo for like coming up with this shit because it is like I'm just so impressed that they were able to do all this stuff. So you have the one in your leg and then one in the ring that you're holding. And what you do is like you're in like a game world and you have to run to like move through like the level and then like run in place. And then you'll get to like a combat encounter. You fight some monsters, right? And it's like, okay, instead of attacks, you have exercises that do damage. So you do like squats or like an overhead press like this, or like an ab one, or like a yoga move. And like different monsters are different colors, and that corresponds to a type of workout, right? So if they're red, you gotta do an arm workout to do damage. If they're blue, you gotta do a leg workout. So it kind of like teases you into doing certain things. But yeah, it's just like really well done, and I think gamifying it to that extent has really helped motivate me because I don't have to think about like what my workout is or time myself or doing it. It's just literally like, what does the game tell me to do? I do it, and I'm much more focused on like killing these monsters than myself or how bad I feel. So it's been a great time. Today was the 4th day in a row I did it. I'm been really enjoying it. I'm a little bit sore, but I'm gonna try to keep it up and try to keep the exercise going because I've not been exercising at all for like this entire semester. So yeah, it's been a good time. I've been really enjoying it.
That actually sounds like really fun. Like I feel like I could enjoy that if I weren't already doing exercise like on my own. Like I feel like I would want to do it if I had it in front of me, like right now.
Hey, buy a Switch, buy it. Dude, it's a good time. They got mini games.
How many friend groups have gotten drunk and played that game and try to like, oh, I bet I can out kill these monsters, and you can.
Seriously, it sounds so much fun.
There's like mini games and stuff. There's like a Beat Saber like mini game where you're like doing the ring. It's like push it in to get certain notes, pull it like other ones, get to move around. There's one today where you had to hold up your head and like dodge stuff. That one fucking sucked. It was so painful. But yeah, I'm just like constantly impressed by the amount of exercise they came up with to use with just this ring. It's really, really cool. So
the Joy-Cons don't have like telemetry, right? Like not like how like a Wii
remote
remote does.
Yeah, they do. Yep, they have. You don't have to sensor bar anymore. They just can sense it with I think gyroscopes because Nintendo Switch Sports is coming out I think this week, this Friday, and that'll have tennis and bowling, same as the Wii did, and use Joy-Cons. So. Also, I don't have it with me, but the right Joy-Con has an IR sensor at the bottom, so you can measure your heart rate after extra like a session. You just like put your thumb on the bottom and it measures your heart rate, which is really cool. So I feel like they were like engineering this while they were making the Switch because they wouldn't have put an IR sensor in if they weren't gonna use it.
I mean,
so I'm super impressed. Shout out to Nintendo.
They probably saw how like good Wii Sports did, right? Like how that's probably like the most memorable Wii game there is, honestly.
Oh,
and
for sure.
It came for free with the Wii, didn't it?
Yep. So. Yep. That's why it was insane. And I know like when the pandemic started, you could not get this game anywhere because everyone's like, I want exercise at home. Best way to do that, Ring Fit. So I just finally got one. But yeah, I would highly recommend it if anyone has a Switch and wants to exercise. I think it's a really fun way to do it and not have to worry about the other bullshit that goes along with exercising. So. Yeah, that's my update. Hopefully, once we get in the summer, I'll be not as depressed about all the presentations I'm doing and just research in general, and I'll actually be doing more stuff. But we're taking it one day at a time. Dayton, I want to go to you next.
Okay.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, pretty well. I don't know whatever word you want to choose.
Pretty solid.
Pretty all right.
Pretty poggers.
Pretty poggers. Yeah, so let's see. I guess so. We last recorded like a month ago.
About.
So yeah, so I guess I've got quite a few updates actually. So I guess I'll start with the most exciting one first, in my opinion, and that is that I put in my notice at work, and I will be moving back to Michigan in the summer. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And I also worked out like this sort of like deal, I guess you could call it, with like my supervisor and my manager, where I'm going to be doing part-time work all throughout the summer, basically.
Oh.
So I'll be able to keep my benefits all through the summer, and be able to like help like mentor some like new engineers. And
Oh, that's super
then
nice. I didn't know about that.
yeah. So that was like a new thing, like just like this past week that we hashed out. So yeah, it really is like the best of both worlds, because now I don't need to just subside off of my savings, which like wasn't gonna be an issue. Like I had been saving for this for a long while. And for long time listeners of the podcast, I think I alluded to this like a few times and I just didn't say it. Like when I kind of like dodged the question of like, oh, like what are you working on like this Saturday morning, or like it was because I was planning out several trips, and just like what I was going to be doing this summer. So one of them is I'm going to be doing the Vermont Long Trail, which is a 3-week ish backpacking trip, in Vermont. Goes from the northern end to the southern end, and then have some. I think we talked about we're gonna do like the Crusher, gonna do a 50-mile ultra marathon, and then another backpacking trip in Minnesota, come August time.
Damn.
So yeah, I'm super excited for it. I think that this is probably like the best that it could have worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, needless to say, it's super stressful to put your notice in at work. At least it was for me. I don't know. Maybe people who
Well,
give.
do you want to tell the story to how that happened? Because it did not go to plan.
Yeah. So in typical like myself fashion, I like overthought it to like oblivion, and I was like okay, like I gotta plan this out. I'm gonna like rehearse exactly what I'm gonna say. And I probably spent like a solid like hour and a half, when I was driving back down from Maine, like 2 weeks ago, like rehearsing like what I was gonna say and like how I was gonna say it and like everything. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna, like, it was like a Monday, I think, maybe like 2 Mondays ago, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna set up a meeting or something like that in the like on Friday, or Thursday or something like that, and I was just gonna like have him meet me, and then we were just gonna discuss it. But then on that Monday, he came over to my office, or my cube, and he was just like, "Hey, do you want to like meet me downstairs to discuss your like annual raise?" And I was like, "Holy shit! Like, I feel like I really should just say it like right now. Like, I'm not at all prepared. Well, I am prepared, but I'm not like mentally prepared for this." So I was just like, "All right, like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna force myself to do it." So yeah, we walked downstairs. He gave me my raise, and then I was just like, then I just like blurted it out. I'm just like, "I'm moving back to Michigan." And then and like I'm like shaking, and like I can feel like my pits like sweating, like I got that like anxiety sweat going on. And yeah, so I just kind of like blurted it out, and then later on in the week we like kind of discussed the whole like part-time situation. But yeah, I'm glad that I just ripped the band-aid off and did it right then and there, because it kind of gave us a little bit more time to like discuss like what we're going to be doing for the summer, because I'm also gonna like fly back out here for like 2 or 3 weeks to help like mentor in person. But yeah, so like that's the big update that I have, and I'm glad that I
Well,
don't
that'd be
have
nice
to.
too, having the health benefits in case you get hurt when you're doing one of these many trips. You know.
Right, because like I'm not expecting to get hurt, but that's why you have insurance, because like nobody's expecting to get hurt.
Yep.
So
All right.
but yeah, so that was the big one. I'm glad that I don't have to kind of like dance around like what I'm doing this summer anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then other things, like I've been working on my motorcycle more. About like 95% certain that I'm gonna sell it before I come back out to Michigan, just because I can't get it working as I want to, and it's just not worth my time anymore. It's frustrating me, and the only reason I work on it is for fun. And if I'm not having fun anymore, then what the hell is the point of having it?
Kick it to the curb.
Kick it to the curb. Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I got.
Nice. And yeah, I just want to mention too that so part of the reason we went monthly is because Dayton's going to be moving around a lot. The summer is supposed to be easier to do that as opposed to having like a consistent weekly schedule. So yeah. So yeah, now Gabe and Joseph, I don't know which I'm thinking is a package deal because you guys are both moved into new apartments now. If you're watching the video, you might notice that we have some different backgrounds here. So I don't know who wants to go first, but I'm curious how your experience has been in your new places, and then I guess what's going on in your lives. Actually, I'm gonna go to Gabe first. You gotta explain this fucking dirt stash you got because it's disgusting and I hate looking at
it. Dirt stash.
Dirt stash. Wow. Okay. It looks better in person. You just can't see it. It's the camera.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I guess so. This month for sure was definitely focused on moving. I think all of us in the house had leases for our new place and a last month at our place. So there's a month of overlap, which is nice because you get a month to move, but it's also bad because you have a month to move. So kind of a double-edged sword there. But so far, so I think we mentioned it probably the end of last episode. This isn't my first place by myself. So that's been different, like for sure, to get used to. I think I really like it. Like there's a lot of things that I can just kind of, I don't know, like I can kind of, I feel like I have more responsibility to take care of it and a lot more like put a lot more care into how I wanted it to look. And I spent a lot of time and a lot of energy trying to become an interior designer for a month. And like maybe I just didn't have faith in myself, but it looks way better than I thought it was going to.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I sent the other guys the videos of like what it looks like now, but like the colors match. Like it looks nice. And it looks like modern and very clean. And I'm really, really happy with how it looks. I bought a fucking couch. Shit's wild.
How that end up? When I was visiting, you were still in the thick of that.
Oh yeah. No, it's a nice couch. I have more appreciation for couches now, just because of how much money they took from me for that damn thing. But man, I can't stop sitting on it. It might be because I'm sick, but you know, couches are sick. It's a really nice one too. I tried to spend. It hurt, but I tried to spend money on stuff that was gonna last.
Right.
Because at least for the most part, I didn't really have a ton of furniture, like all the bedroom stuff. I mean, there's the little bit you guys can see. I've had mostly since college. So like all that stuff's old, but the whole living room stuff, I had like nothing. So I definitely splurged a little bit and got some nicer stuff, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And it's nice to have my own space. And the neighborhood is super, super cool. I'm kind of straddled between two bigger neighborhoods in Minneapolis, and I can walk to some of like the most iconic bridge in Minneapolis, Stone Arch Bridge, in under 15 minutes, and get groceries, bars, you know, all that stuff. Very close and super nice, and I really like the location. Some weird quirks of the apartment because you want to know that. So my apartment is like this apartment building. It's not like you're thinking like the new ones. If you close your eyes and imagine like a brand new apartment complex, probably think of a 5/1 where like the first floor is concrete and there's like 5-ish floors with the weird rectangular thing. They all look the same. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. I get one of those because they're a lot more expensive. So I kind of compromised there and got a place that is, I think it's from the 80s, but this apartment was completely redone. So new appliances and new everything. So it's really nice. But there are some things that are still in the 80s. I pay rent by like mail and a check, which is weird because I've been doing Venmo and payments forever.
Yep.
Back to coin laundry, which kind of sucks.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure they forgot to like insulate the ceiling because this sounds crazy, but it's true. I can hear the guy upstairs snoring at night. So either he's a very loud snorer or or they forgot to insulate the ceiling. But those minor gripes aside, I'm really happy with it. I got a little bit more things to move from the old place. I was hoping to have it done last weekend, but getting sick unexpectedly kind of threw a wrench into it. But more or less, I mean, I've been living here for 2.5, 3 weeks now, and it's been really nice. So,
hell yeah. I'll say, as someone who also has to do coin laundry, the laundromat is your friend. That's where you go and get quarters. They always got coin machines that are stocked up. So you go in, pop a 20, grab your quarters, and get out of there before they see you.
It's not a bad idea. See, okay, so I found something online of like portable washing machines. I've been looking into that. You essentially they're smaller, obviously, but you hook it up to your sink in your bathroom, and it will just wash like a small load of clothes, and you can no quarters, but they're like $250, and you get to keep it. So,
but like, how much that will cost you in electricity and water bills?
So I don't have to pay water; I only pay electricity.
Okay.
And they're not like insanely inefficient to where it's like that's not worth it. And there's only one washer and dryer for the whole apartment complex. And granted, it's not like a massive apartment complex, but there's still, I think there's like 10 or 12 units. So more than you'd want for like one pair. So
yeah,
maybe I'll keep an update on that later.
Yeah, sounds like your spot is very similar to mine. I'm also in a super old building, 12 units, one washer dryer.
Yeah.
A lot of weird quirks. So
yeah, but I mean, I'll have to send you guys videos. The new, like the remodel was done pretty well, so it's nice. So.
Oh yeah, glad to hear it. Joseph, how are you?
I am well. I went to Myrtle Beach for the first week of, was this April? So that was fun. Spent time with my family. Got a stunt on them. Dayton got a preview, but I got these Patagonia short shorts with my Pro Deals, and so I got like 3 pairs of them, and one of them I should have grabbed them, but one of them is burgundy on one side and blue on the other side. So it's like, I don't know, just not, I shouldn't say not matching, but like just weird colors and stuff. And my mom was like, "What are you wearing?" It's like, "What? It's cool." And she goes, "At least you're buying like new clothes and stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fair." As I'm wearing like, usually I don't know, I wear a lot of the same clothes that I've had.
I'm not surprised that Crazy Cat doesn't approve of like short shorts
and wacky colors. Yeah, color blocked.
Yeah, and like this is the first time I've like been around them with my tattoo showing.
Oh yeah,
because it was warm, so I was wearing shorts. And because when I was back home for Christmas, I was wearing like my running shorts because it was hot in the house. And my mom's like kind of made a comment about it, and I was like, okay, let's see how this week goes.
I mean, you knew about it before, right?
Like, yeah, but still, like, I think you should put on real pants.
Joseph, right. can I ask you the running shorts that you're wearing? Were they your black ones with the gray and the red stripes on the right side, on like the outsides?
No, these were a new pair I bought last summer after our Isle Royal trip.
Ah, okay. Okay.
They're similar to your Isle, or the shorts you wore.
Which ones?
They're
the
like that style, I should say, like the super
like
thin
actual
and, like,
running shorts. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not like basketball shorts.
Okay.
And I was like, it's okay, I've got a liner in them, and my mom's like, oh my God.
Dude, honestly, I was a liner hater until like 2 summers ago. I hated liners on anything, and now I'm like, give me all the liners I can get. Like any shorts that I can get with liners in them, I buy them.
Oh, I know.
You're a madman. You're a madman.
In college, I bought bathing suit that was like at the time pretty short. Now it's longer than the shorts I have, or the shorts, and I cut the liner out because I was like, I'm not dealing with the liner. And now I'm pissed that I cut it out because I like the bathing suit, but
yeah, I mean, bathing suit is standard to have a liner. I can't imagine running shorts with a liner though. I feel like it's just more fabric I don't need. You know,
you don't wear like underwear with them.
Oh, gotcha.
It's basically it's literally just hold your balls.
That's all. Built-in briefs.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds kind of nice.
It's really super.
Nice. I sleep in them all the time.
I'm just thinking of all of
the
really poor underwear I blow out when I like work out. There's no liner, you know what I mean?
We've talked about this on the podcast before. Gabe's middle school fucking underwear.
I'm not talking. I'm not talking about the stringiness.
His Spider-Man underwear.
Smell.
Oh God, Gabe.
Just saying, it'd be nice to consolidate the odor to one garment instead of like, oh, well, now these shorts and underwear are fucking dead for like until the next wash, you know?
Bro, God, you need to get that sorted out.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
He's got some active sebaceous glands, man.
Yeah, I'm a smelly boy, you know.
I guess so. It must be all those chicken patties.
Shut the fuck up.
Joseph, how was Myrtle Beach?
Keep going, Joseph.
I've heard Myrtle Beach is like super touristy. Is that the case that you saw when you were there?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tourist town. We weren't like downtown Myrtle Beach very much. So it wasn't like super busy, and it wasn't like main spring break time either.
Sure.
So like it wasn't packed, but you could definitely, we like drove through like some of the touristy areas, and it's like, yeah, this is a tourist spot. It's a tourist destination, you know. I walked along the beach to get away from my family every day. And one day I grabbed my backpack and threw a couple beers in it. And as I was walking, I poured them into a travel mug. So, I'm sitting on the beach, hunched over, pouring into this mug. So like, obviously everyone knows. But I'm not holding a can of, Miller High Life or whatever. And I get down to where basically the beach ends, and I'm like, man, I gotta pee really bad. And I kind of look back, I'm like, I think I walked like 1.5 miles, 2 miles. I'm not gonna run down the beach, but it's not close, So I'm walking, and I'm like, oh, this is getting bad. And there's
just go in the water.
Yeah.
Because I have a backpack on, and it's like, do I leave the backpack?
Yeah.
Yeah, just leave it.
I feel like that would have looked so weird to just walk into the water.
Nobody. Well, you gotta pretend a little. You gotta act it out, like oh yeah, like I'm enjoying.
Ham it up.
Come on, we've all done this before.
No, I was not about to do that.
Also, no one gives a shit. No one cares.
The
about
ocean's already mostly pee. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I still didn't want to. So I was walking, and I asked this ocean rescue guy and like a U-Haul mule or whatever drove past, and I was like, "Hey, is there a public bathroom nearby?" And he kind of laughs and goes, "No, man, like that sucks," and drives away. And I was like, "Cool." And so I walk back. I'm like about to burst. Like this is by far the worst I've ever been.
Were your kidneys hurting? Was it that bad?
Yes. Yeah. I had to pee so bad it made me have to shit too. So then I definitely couldn't go in the water. And then I like walk past my family, grab my shoes, and go back, and they're like, "What? How was your walk?" I'm like, "Can't talk, gotta go." And I made it back, but I was like, this is the absolute. I was the closest I've ever peed my pants since I was a child.
Yep.
So that was fun. That was an enjoyable experience.
Oh man, when the kidneys start hurting, you're in trouble, man. I've had that on drives. I'm like, I can do one more exit, and then the exit's not coming soon enough, and you're just hurting so bad.
Yeah, and it's worse because you can I could see the landmark of like where we were, and I was like, it's not getting bigger fast enough. Like it's still far away. But it was a fun trip. Went mini golfing. Drove past like 8 mini golf courses to the mini golf course we went to.
Of course.
because it's a tour spot, so it's a bunch of mini golf, I guess. But yeah, it was a fun trip. It was nice to be in the warmth. It was like
it's not warm in Minnesota right now.
No. No, I think we've got one day in the 70s, and it's been in the 40s or 50s most days.
Oh, it's been awful. I hate it, and it's awful.
It's rained almost every day.
It's supposed to rain for like the next 4 days here too.
Yep.
Lord.
Yeah, but yeah, it was like 50 degrees there and sunny, and I'm in shorts and a t-shirt, and my family's wearing, like sweatshirts, and they're like, it's cold. I'm like, this is the warmest it has been for me in a long time. So that was fun. And yeah, and I got back and immediately moved into this place. And it's been fun. It's like Gabe said, we've had plenty of time to find the quirks of it. Like the doors don't close. They do.
All of them?
The outside door does.
Oh, okay.
And the pantry door.
Yeah, that's good.
But like you close the door up to the frame, and it hits the frame, and you can like push it to like get it to latch. But it's not worth it when it's just Alyssa and I here, so it's not been a big deal. Especially she gets up, I don't know, like 2 hours before I get up. So like if I close the door at night, then she's gonna have to pull it open, wake me, and it's just like slamming these doors. It's not worth it.
Do the bathroom doors close?
Nope. Same thing. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
You kind of push it against the frame and it stays there, so it's not like they swing open.
Right. I got you.
Well,
hear
maybe
other people snore. Floor above you.
Not above me, but I can tell when my landlord, who is in the apartment next to me, I can tell when he plays music because you can hear it. The other day he listened, I could hear him say, Alexa, play Michael Jackson's, which one was it? Something the World? We Are the World. Or Man in the Mirror, that's what it was. And I was like, oh, okay, this is great. I'm glad I can hear him say that.
Was he singing along? That's what I'm interested in, him singing along with any music he's playing.
I could not hear him singing.
How old is this guy?
He's probably in his 40s.
Okay, I was gonna say because I don't know in what fucking universe I would ever say that sentence.
Oh, I know. I know. It's like, hey, you like it, you like it. It's not.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Michael Jackson, but it's not like I'm gonna go and be like, you know what I need to listen to right now. Fucking Man in the Mirror,
specifically. Yeah.
Maybe he was looking in a mirror and he's like,
yeah, maybe he's getting dressed. He's getting dressed for the day.
He's like, this is what I need.
Very possible. So that makes me nervous about like playing, like having the TV loud. It's like I don't want him to hear me watching shitty YouTube videos or whatever cringy shit I'm watching, anime. So,
of course,
but it's not like we can hear him all the time or whatever. I can tell when the apartment below me cooks. There's two bedrooms and then one or two 1-bedrooms in this building. I don't know, it used to be a house, I'm pretty sure, and it's just kind of divided. But excuse me, I can tell when he cooks because I can smell it in our kitchen.
Oh, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, is he a good cook?
He's a good cook.
Oh, nice.
He's I forget where he's from, but he uses this apartment as like a crash pad for when he's in country here. He's from, I know they've told me before, but he's a good cook. Lots of spices, gotta say.
There we go.
Very aromatic when he cooks. So,
yeah. How's the cohabitation been between you and Alyssa?
It's been well. We've fought every day consistently. No, we haven't had any major fights yet. It's going pretty well. I'm a pretty mellow guy, so like, she's like, "Well, do we want to put this here or here?" Like, I don't fucking care. I'll be fine either way. I kind of like this one better. Okay, let's do that. It's like, all right.
Joseph, you got to stop flushing your cereal down the toilet.
I haven't done that yet. But yeah, no, we've been working out a while. We've cooking a lot of meals, which has been nice. Cooking together more often than we did. So yeah,
that's awesome. Very, very glad to hear it. Glad to hear everyone's doing good and got some interesting stuff coming up in the summer for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's get into our first topic tonight. Dayton, we'll go to you. Why don't you intro it for us?
Yeah. Have you ever wanted to just thought about just careening your car off the side of a fucking cliff?
Every day.
Not in a suicidal way, but in a way of I hold this power. I could do this. I think everybody has. And that's why I want to talk about intrusive thoughts and our relationship with them. Do you guys get scared of your intrusive thoughts? Do you ever drive on the highway and just be like, holy fuck, if I wanted to, I literally could just yank the wheel to the left really hard and just obliterate a shit ton of stuff. Does that scare you? Or are you just dude, what the fuck am I thinking? So I'm curious, what sort of intrusive thoughts you guys have. And Jacob, I know that you got a list of some common intrusive thoughts.
Get to it. Just a brief definition, and then we can get into it. So
sure.
Yeah, so I'm on goodrxhealth.com. People that are known for giving you coupons on your prescriptions. But anyway, intrusive thoughts are random thoughts with no connection to what you're in the middle of doing. They seem to pop up out of the blue. Nearly everyone has intrusive thoughts. Yeah, so basically they're just random ass thoughts that kind of pop in. And Dayton said, it could be what if I just drove off this bridge, or what if, so on and so forth. So the 7 that they list are some 7 common intrusive thought examples. First one, the thought of hurting a baby or a child. Being you know what? I could fuck that baby up. Got a soft head. I could do some damage, but I'm not going to, Number 2, thoughts of doing something violent or illegal. That's pretty common. Maybe stealing something. I don't know. Third one, thoughts that cause doubt. I'm not sure what they're trying to get at here. Let's see. Intrusive thoughts might cause you to doubt your relationship or question your sexual orientation, or you may doubt whether you turned off the stove, locked the door, or sent your text message to the right person. So kind of just second guessing yourself.
That's common. Yeah.
Number 4 is unexpected reminders about painful past events. Jesus Christ, I get this one all the time.
Oh, right before you're going to
bed. Number 5, worries about catching germs or serious illness. I'm assuming that went up a lot during the pandemic.
That's spiked recently.
Concern you might do something embarrassing. That seems like anxiety kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then intrusive sexual thoughts. Thinking about taboos or weird stuff like that. So yeah, I can start off because I already mentioned it, but the one that on this that brings the most to me is the past events coming back up. God, I hate when this shit happens. It happens to me twice a week, I feel like. Or I'll be sitting at my desk or in the shower, and I'll also remember some cringy ass thing I did back in middle school or whatever, and it shuts me down, man. I hate it so much. I get through it, but God, there are so many moments in my life where I'm like, wow, why did I do that shit? That was horrible. Horrible cringe.
Can you share one of them with us?
Share with
honestly,
the class.
They're not quickly coming to my head right now. Maybe it's because I'm
preoccupied.
Podcast, but
yeah,
I'm preoccupied with talking. But if I think of one during this, I'll let you know. But
dude, I got one.
Just dumb stuff with girls and stuff.
Oh, with girls. Okay, no, I don't think I have any with girls. But this was in 6th grade during one of our lunch periods, and this. Jesus, I'm halfway into saying this and I gotta say it. I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it because it's cringy as shit. For some reason, me and 3 or 4 of my friends decided to literally the entire lunch period. We didn't eat lunch. We just stood against this wall and we just rocked back and forth in sync and just made this fucking weird noise for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. We chose not to eat lunch and we were all just rocking back and forth, making some weird fucking noise. God, I don't know what it is about that memory, it makes me want to like crawl inside of myself and forget that I ever existed.
But that's hilarious because that feels so on brand for you somehow. Like that's just like you inducing chaos, like introducing chaos into the world. That's really funny.
Yeah. But I mean, like aside
Dayton,
from okay,
well, with that, I'm just curious. Are those friends that you did that with? Are they people? You don't need to say their names, but people that we know, because I think I can pick two that I can picture you doing that with, and I'm just curious if I know them.
You do know two of them.
Okay.
Oh my god.
But like I don't know. I don't get like I don't really think of like cringe situations that much. Those aren't my type of intrusive thoughts, really.
Okay, what's the main one for you, Dayton?
Like me, usually when I'm driving, and I'm like, holy shit, like I'm controlling this car. I could careen off the road right now. I don't know why it fascinates me.
Does it scare you or fascinate you or both?
No, it doesn't fascinate me because like I know that like the second that I start like swerving off the road, I would like instantly just like react to correct it. Yeah, I don't. It's more of just like imagining the destruction that would occur like after it because like I've witnessed like a few car crashes before and it's just like surreal in the moment like how much like destruction like actually happens. I don't know.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, I've got that one before too, but it's more just like, what if I drove off this bridge?
Yeah,
that's as far as I go. I don't think about the aftermath. I'm just like, I could do that. Yep. And that's,
yeah,
that's
and it's usually like a very fleeting thought. It's like 15 seconds, and then I'm just like, "Oh fuck you, asshole! You just cut me off," and then I completely forget about
it. Gabe, what's a top intrusive thought for you?
Yeah, I definitely get a lot driving or like having my health in my hands, like in a more like I don't know, like pertinent way where it's like, I don't know, like there's more destruction to be had. And I think it's more like Dayton where it's like I think about how it work, um, like how it all play out, I
it.
guess. Um, I don't really know. I think the other ones that I have a lot of are like I have a lot of like self-doubt ones that are random, like things I've done 1,000 times, millions of times. And then sometimes this like someone probably like, what if you fucked it up? Like that's pretty frustrating, but I feel like it's decently on brand with like sometimes how like there's just some random like self-doubt that'll happen. That's pretty frustrating, especially like it'll throw you out of the zone or something.
Yeah.
Even if it's something simple, like like when I was super into guitar or something, like oh, I know how to play this, and then it'll pop up, or playing soccer or anything like low risk, I guess.
Yeah. So I think about too much, then you can't do it.
I think the like the destruction and violent like intrusive thoughts are more interesting because like I kind of want to figure out like why, like why you have them. I feel like it's almost like some weird part your brain's trying to figure out how it would survive possible situations or something. But that doesn't really hold water to like the social situations.
Well, it kind of well how I've heard it is that it's a way of like regulating your actions because like you think about these situations and you're like, damn, like this shit could happen, and obviously this is bad if this happens. So, like I'm not gonna do it. It's like with Jacob's example, like yeah, this kid's got a freaking tiny little head. Like yeah, you could walk up to the baby and just sock it, but like you're not gonna because you're like, oh right, I'm not gonna do that because of a myriad of reasons, and it's the same reason why you're not gonna go, just plowing off of the side of the road because there's so many like things that you can go wrong, obviously, with it, and like it's your way of being like, I don't want to do that, sort of deal.
Yeah,
it's like like a buffer.
Gabe, you mentioned the doubt ones, and to me, it's more of the, did I lock the door? Like I guarantee I locked it, but it's like, but did I lock
those
it?
A lot? Yeah.
I think they got worse after I've had stuff stolen. Like Joseph knows, I got my bike stolen right off the fucking balcony of our apartment. I've had stuff stolen before that. And it's just like, ever since those, it's like, but did I lock it though? Like my car is another thing too. When I was in high school, I was working. I did wedding catering in Minneapolis. We finish up the gigs at like anywhere between like 11 and 1 a.m. And I would, be walking back to my car, at night in Minneapolis, and I always like my car didn't get stolen, but like, is it stolen? And as soon as I saw it, I have a sigh of relief. But I've had like this constant like thing in my head of like, is my car stolen? And it's never been. So it's just like weird stuff like that. To me, it feels more of like an anxiety response, as opposed to like a survival thing. But I think that kind of fits each scenario differently. But as an anxious person myself, I think I have a lot of those just in that kind of realm. But
I think I have that around new places a lot. Like I definitely have had more since I've moved. Because like when I first moved to my now former place, closing the garage, I would like forget that I would do a lot. Like my brain just it was like way too tired because half the time I was going to work and it's like probably wasn't awake enough to even drive. But my brain just like wouldn't record, I guess, like so to speak. So like I'd have a lot of anxiety with like that and like getting stuff stolen. But I think a lot of it is just like, I don't know, not you're just like trying to protect what you got almost.
Right.
I think like putting myself, at least in my experience, if I put myself in new scenarios, those situations or those thoughts come up more often. So
Interesting.
I don't know about you.
Joseph, what's some top ones for you?
I have two pretty common reoccurring thoughts, or intrusive thoughts, to the point where they're like a consistent reoccurring thing. One of them is, what if I screamed in this situation right now, just top of my lungs? Like, I'll be in a restaurant and be like, what would like the people around me do if I just screamed for like 5 seconds and then did not react at like, no, like, just going back to what I'm doing. Another one is, it usually happens when I'm having like a one-on-one conversation with someone. Like, what if I just punched him in the jaw? Like, just socked him and like act like nothing happened. Yeah. Like, how would, my manager react? How would this person
You'd
at a
fire
bar
your
that I
ass. That's
just
how you'd react.
I feel like some of them are pretty predictable,
but not in like how, like, okay, obviously I'd probably get fired but like in the moment, like, what would they like look at me like I'm crazy? Would they start swinging back? Would especially, and I think a big thing to me is like, if I do it and then just act like it didn't happen, it's because like if you punch someone and then be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
So you're gonna gaslight them after you just cold cocked them.
Yeah, or like just continue the conversation, rather than like being ready to fight, or like, rather than reacting to the action I just did. So those are the two big ones. I do get every once in a while crashing my car while I'm driving, just to like, how would it crumple? Like, what are the crumple zones look like, kind of thing. Rather than like, oh, I want to drive off this cliff. But yeah, very similar to like Dayton's, where like I'm curious on like the destruction that would have.
Yeah.
I got it a lot on the Mackinac Bridge, driving up to school because
well, that bridge is fucking scary, dude.
It's a 5-mile long bridge, and for those who don't travel it, in the middle there's grates in the middle lanes. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's to prevent harmonics, like to like fuck up the bridge and like make it snap.
I thought it was for air.
I think
that
it's
means
wind.
is you have some.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's air. It's something like updrafts don't like make it bounce, which I think that has to do with harmonics, but I'm not a fucking structural engineer. I'm an idiot.
That's why I said correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, for safety reasons.
Yeah,
the middle lanes
reasons.
Are great.
There we go.
And a lot of the times the outer lanes are under construction and stuff, or vice versa, or like the inner lanes are being worked on. You have to be forced to the outside. So sometimes you're just kind of like stuck, and it's a long bridge. I think it's just under 5 miles, so you're just like looking below, and there's just this massive 2 lakes, and you're just like, what? Like, what would it take for me to like send my car to the depths below, and how would I get out of it? I think about that a lot every time I drive over it. But I think it's because it gives you enough time to think about it, and it's high enough
Right.
and sketchy
And
enough
it's,
to where the
it's
thoughts
fucking
show up.
shaking and stuff. Dude, I fucking
Yeah.
hate the Mackinac Bridge, dude.
Yeah.
Shit is horrifying.
I've walked across it, and like on Labor Day every
Labor Day
year
stuff, yeah.
they do a like you can walk across it, and it's weird because like if you're looking in front of you because you're going so slow, you can see it like kind of like snaking, and then you can also feel it like going up and down as well. It's
I don't like that.
It's really cool.
Is it cool? I think it's scary.
It's a gorgeous, gorgeous bridge, and you should do it if you get the opportunity. It's fun. But sometimes I get some thoughts like, what would it take for me to careen off this here bridge?
I want to be very careful how I word this because obviously, so I've had a couple intrusive thoughts that they're not suicidal thoughts. I want to be very clear. It's not suicidal thoughts. They are just what would happen if I died. Like, who'd be my, it's kind of like, who'd be my wedding party if I got married right now. It's also like, who'd be my funeral,
Sure.
So I've had a few times, and it's kind of interesting thing about, but it's also kind of like, what am I doing? Like, this is a waste of time, and it's not healthy, I don't think, to go through that scenario.
Right.
You just gotta feel bad. But I've had that a few times. Like that, like I feel like my intrusive thoughts are more social. So I talk about like the cringy stuff, and then like this stuff, and then it's either social or it's just like, did I lock the door? Like me personally, did I fuck up? So it's a lot of like the anxiety related, kind of embarrassment and that kind of stuff a lot.
So I feel like at least like with like I would say Gabe and myself, ours are like rooted in like preparation almost, and like we either don't want these situations to happen, and that's why we're like imagining what would happen, so then like we can better prepare for it, or realize why we don't want to do that. Like I feel like for the anxiety ones, like do you feel like that is also true? Like you're trying to like prepare yourself for these situations when they eventually come?
It's more like, how do I prevent this from happening?
Interesting.
I don't know if you'd call that as in the same way, but it's like, okay, I'm imagining this thing and I don't like it. How do I do everything in my power to make sure it doesn't happen?
I think that counts as preparation still.
Yeah.
I feel like that's both of those are anxiety to some level, right? Like something that isn't actually going to happen, but you want to figure out how to handle it,
Right. Right. And then, if it does happen, you already have kind of an imagined scenario of how you might react to it.
Yeah.
And then Joseph's an absolute madman screaming and punching people.
Screaming in the fucking restaurant.
His doesn't have a survival instinct. He's just curious what it'd be like to punch.
His is just pure monkey brain.
Scientists are still working on that one.
I used to, like, when in school particularly, I think it's pretty common people to have, like, at least in America, have, like, what if a shooter came in here? How would I react?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah. But now
those intrusive thoughts are just running scenarios, though.
Well,
it
depends on what school you go to, I suppose.
They force us to think about that shit. It's not our fault.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, I'd definitely be sitting in class and lecture and being like, yeah, I'd probably turn this desk over, or stuff like that.
Okay. I also feel like in a similar vein and less serious. It's like he's like the same thing of being like, if I had a time machine and I went back in time, what would I bring back to show them how cool I am? You know what I mean? Like it's a similar like.
We should also save that for topics I do want to have that discussion.
Yeah.
Like what was the best item to bring back to the past? Let's save that for another time.
We should bottle that one. But I'm just saying, like in theory, there's a lot of like stupid not that I'm saying it's not possible, because obviously it happens all the time. But there's a lot of like silly scenarios that I will have in my head of like, well, what if this had happened? Oh, I'd probably do this. Okay, but what if this happens? Okay, you know what I mean? Like that. Like I don't know if that's like intrusive thoughts. Definitely a similar vein, but
yeah, them and anxiety are very hand in hand, and that website does mention too, like if you have a lot, that could lead to like OCD possibly, if you're like, I have to do this thing over and over again, or
I can see that being with like the doubt ones, where it's like, oh, did I turn this light off? And then that triggers like their compulsion to like switch it like 5 times off or whatever.
Yep. For sure.
Well, I've heard too, like a lot of, and I mean, I don't know like therapy. I don't know, Jacob, if you've had a similar experience or you know what, but I've heard that it's kind of mentioned that a lot of times treating anxiety and like severe anxieties and stuff is to treat them like it's just an intrusive thought. Like, yeah, I'm worried about this thing, but at the end of the day, that's an intrusive thought. It's no different than me thinking, what if I rammed my car off this bridge,
Right.
And stuff like that. So yeah, it's just like not like the next step, but like just a more almost severe kind of intrusive thought is from what I've heard.
Right.
And like
Yeah,
one way to tackle that.
When I was in therapy, that specific like language wasn't used, but it was more like when you do get a thought, like anxiety thought or an intrusive thought, you have to just like sit through it, feel it like in your body. Like when the people say like feel your feelings, that can be kind of hard to like. What does that mean? It's really like feel that thought in your body and how it expresses itself. Like for me, my anxiety is in my stomach, so a lot of times when I get like an anxiety thought, I feel like butterflies or whatever. So it's like let it like feel it and it'll pass. So kind of just take it in and then let it go. Not as opposed to like trying to keep blocking it, because if you keep blocking, it'll just keep coming.
Yeah.
So kind of like let it in, let it do its thing, and then let it leave. So yeah, they are kind of similar things, I would say.
Okay.
Do you guys get up for a second topic?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Dave, you're the one who goes to bed early, so.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm working from home tomorrow.
So I just want to have a little discussion. I'm not sure how long it'll go because it's just like a weird thing I'm thinking about lately. We have different media that we consume, right? Music, TV shows, movies. And I was thinking about how some things like age very, very poorly, and some things don't. Like I think the easy example is like 3D animation or like 3D graphics. I feel like ages so fast. If you go back and look at okay, it's a great show, but like Jimmy Neutron, all right. If you watch Jimmy Neutron today, it looks like shit. It is hard to watch. At least for me, it is because it's just like, man, it's of its time. And the same thing for like PS2, GameCube era graphics, 3D graphics, like the very polygonal graphics. Like, man, this did not age well. But on the flip side, you have stuff like Tetris that like still looks great because it was just a 2D and it's a very simple art style. But for whatever is like 3D, and same thing with like CG in movies, right? CG ages super fast because the technology is always getting better. So I was curious if you guys had any thoughts on maybe why we feel like things age very fast or very slow, and then other examples you had.
So another example that I have is like Tomb Raider. Like, I mean, it's kind of similar. Like the Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, like the pyramid titties,
iconic pyramid titties. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, in my opinion, it's like whatever's on the cutting edge, right? The cutting edge of technology is always going to be outdated super quickly, right? Because that's always getting moved forward and forward and forward. But like, if you choose a more refined technology, it'll have more sticking power, right?
Sure. Well, but so that what would I feel like that's only true for certain things. If you look at like cutting edge like 2D animation ages beautifully. I was watching Studio Ghibli movies recently from the 80s, and they still look fucking fantastic. And modern animation still looks great too. They're just different art styles, and it's maybe it's a little slower, but it's not like I don't recoil and cringe like I do watching Jimmy Neutron now. Okay, I'm sorry. I know it's a great show, but it's like, man, Carl Weezer is scaring me.
I think too, we watched Jimmy Neutron as kids.
Yeah.
And so we have like an idea that it was good. I don't think it was good. I don't think it was even then cutting edge at the time. I think it was probably cheaply made and cheaply animated.
Yeah.
And that's what I've heard is that the people who worked on Jimmy Neutron were like just scrapping it together.
Right. But even like all of us have watched Attack on Titan. And the most recent season, they transitioned the Titans to 3D models. They were 2D animated before, and now they're 3D models. I remember when it first started, at least when the three of us started watching at the time, we're like, this feels different. Like, I don't know if I like it or not. It's gotten better over time, but it definitely feels kind of out of place. I mean, that's more just because of the merging art styles. But like 3D always looks a little bit weird, unless it's done at super high quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wonder if it has to kind of do with like once like we get, I feel like we're getting to the point now where it's getting so good that it's hard to tell the difference between like in some cases like like a 3D model and like real life. And then it kind of gets into like the uncanny valley, which I know that we've talked about before on the here, um, where it's. But for that, like I still feel like that is still good. Like if it reaches uncanny valley good, that's still good 3D modeling. I feel like.
Right. It depends on the context. If you have a
Yeah.
everyone or people saw Rogue One, I know Gabe, you did, right? And Joseph.
Yeah.
Tarkin
I saw
and
it
Leia
too.
were both 3D model. Oh, you saw it too? So, yeah, so
Terrible.
General Tarkin and Leia were both 3D models, and it was kind of like when you're putting a 3D person next to a real person, that's when it gets weird. If like everyone was 3D, that'd be like that's great animation. But because they're
Right.
putting it in the real world, it's like the uncanny value kind of uncomfortable.
Well, they're also recreating a person that we know and that we have an expectation of.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
they're recreating Carrie Fisher and the actor that
I know,
did
I
Yeah,
forgot
Darth.
his
I was
name.
gonna. You should have stuck with the character names.
Yeah. But you know, like we knew Carrie Fisher, we knew Princess Leia and Tarkin.
Mhm.
So like to then recreate them, I think is difficult. And like that's where you run into issues. If it was a different person that we hadn't met and then they're not like restricted to how they look, I think they could have done it. It could have been better. Is
Sure.
just my, you know.
Peter Cushing was the actor.
Peter, yes.
I think I want to go back to Dane's point. I think our generation. I'm gonna use that. Our generation. I think it sucks. To answer this question. Because we grew up where generations of like, let's go back to animation, for example. 3D animation changed super fucking fast, right? I
Mhm.
believe there's plenty of, you can find way better YouTube essays than me rambling, but if you think of like the PS1 to the PS2, that's a huge jump, right?
Yep.
If
Mhm.
you're going from PS4 to PS5, like graphically, animation wise, things have just gotten so goddamn good.
Mhm.
Uh, the jumps are smaller and smaller because the gap has been closed astronomically, right? But at the same time, we also have some level of nostalgia towards how things looked when we were kids. So
Mhm.
I think it's really hard for me to give like a good like uh opinion on it because like I mean, for example, even I've been playing the new Lego Star Wars because I'm sick and it's fun and I love it. It's a great game. But I went back and watched some of the old levels because the level design is miles apart. Like one of
Right.
them is made in 2022, and the other one I don't even remember when it came out, like 2003
Like
or
in the
something.
Yeah,
early
something
2000s.
like that.
Long
Mhm.
time ago. Like the design philosophies have changed, but I don't even want to talk about that. Like visually, um, I I remembered it looking fine,
Yeah.
like completely like normal. And at the time there wasn't voice acting, so everything was like physically acted out.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, like Darth Vader says, "Luke, I'm your father," by like pointing at a picture of Anakin and Padme from like the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Um,
show was funny as
no,
hell.
it's a great, for the time it was fantastic, and I never thought anything was wrong with it until the
Mhm.
new one came out and there was better lighting and voice acting and
Mhm.
animations and the gameplay. Like the level design and gameplay is just so much different, the animation's so different. It's so hard to go back
Yeah.
to that game that I love, and I've played the original Lego Star Wars so fucking much as a kid. It it's just crazy to me how much it's changed.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it until the new one came out, because I have
Yeah.
so much nostalgia for it.
I mean, yeah, you touch on the reason why I was thinking about this is that I cannot play old video games. Like,
Yeah,
if I'll play like the most recent game in a series, like, oh, I kind of go back and play the old ones, but it's like, no, I don't. I need to stop myself because I know I'm gonna get in this old ass game and be like, this shit sucks because it's
Mhm.
slow and
some
it's
of
maybe
that's
the graphics
game
don't look as
design
good.
for
Some of it's
sure.
game design, and like that's the problem is like the reason these things age poorly is because we've gotten better versions. So it's hard. If that was if the first Lego Star Wars is the peak of gameplay all the way for the last 20 years, we wouldn't be saying now that it looks bad or it is, outdated
Sure.
because
Right.
it's still the best. But because we keep iterating, old things don't feel as good.
Mm-hmm.
But just to transition a little bit, like, because certain things don't age, or they do age well. Like, well, I want to talk with you about Dayton, because Dayton, you mentioned in the chat music, and I think music ages great. It's like, maybe the only like cringe music I can think of is like dubstep. Dubstep's the only thing I can think of. Like, okay, that's like the electronic genre. I think ages fast, but like music in general, I think ages super well because it's just you're just hearing sounds.
Yeah, and that's like the
I think
main
that's what
one.
Dayton was saying with the new stuff, right? With the
Yeah,
cutting edge stuff.
Yeah, so like with like dubstep, right? Like, and I'm talking like 2010 dubstep, like
Bangarang, dude.
Yeah, like
Skrillex,
Skrillex, like early Skrillex. That music does not age well, and like even if you look over the pond over at like European like dubstep and like even if you consider like drum and bass and stuff like that, that music from like 2010 is just absolute garbage compared to the music like that we have now. And I think that is because, like I was saying earlier, like it's like it was the cutting edge of technology at the time, but fundamentally, like electronic music is made primarily on a computer or using like MIDI devices and the like. So you're limited by what you can do on your computer and like what sort of plugins you have and how much control you have over everything. So naturally it's just going to become more complex, and it's going to get to the point where it's like 2010 2012 dubstep was like the PS1, and now we're at like the PS5 level of like music, let's say, of electronic music. So it's just like it matures, and then once it reaches maturity, then I think that it has some significant holding power.
Right. Did you think it's more cringy, like the older, like 2010 stuff, because we were kids? Is there also a nostalgia, like a reverse nostalgia at play? Because I remember when dubstep first came out, it was like the shit, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Skrillex." And now looking back on it, it's like, yeah, it's kind of cringe. I don't feel like it's the same for like rock and roll or
I feel
punk
like
or whatever.
Okay, I think music in general has exploded and splintered so much in the last 30 years with like digital and being able to like people were because there's so many subgenres, people can get exactly what they want. And I think that's allowed a lot of genres to mature and kind of play their course out, you know? So like dubstep was very new because of computers, and there's how many different subgenres of electronic music now, right?
There's like
And rock music's the same way. Like in the late 80s and 90s, things started getting weird pretty quick. And then like where we're at now, there's so many fucking subgenres, and a lot of them are very mature, but some like the early like iterations of that genre are extremely weird and corny. Some of them I still love. Like I still love how corny and dumb and stupid they are, but like they don't age well, you know? Like it's because it was such a new thing at the time, I think.
Interesting. But yeah, you still do have old stuff that does slap, like the Thor 4 trailer came out and it has Sweet Child of Mine in it. It's like that song fucking rips, all right? Like no one can tell me that song is not an absolute banger, all right?
Okay, but if
that's
you
an
take
old song.
if you take Sweet Child of Mine though, right? Which I mean I would consider it rock and roll. I don't know if anybody has objections. That's been being refined since like fucking Elvis, right? It's like I don't know how many years that is. But it's
like everything has like an incubation period kind of where it's cringe, or looking back it's cringe, but then it gets to a point and then
the infancy period where it truly is like a cutting edge technology for the time is always just bad.
Elvis or like Chuck Berry, who's before Elvis really, and I think Chuck Berry and Robert Johnson were like the first people to play rock and roll really, and that style of music is very different from Elvis even, and early what we would consider classic rock or like rock and roll now.
I feel like at least for like the rock music, I don't know how it is, Dayton. I'd like to hear your perspective on the genre of music you listen to, but like there was a moment when rock music became very mainstream, and it was essentially like what pop music was. I mean, you think like Led Zeppelin and
was
Beatles,
the pop music.
That's what I mean. Like that was pop music, but like once it kind of fell out of favor, it had this weird resurgence where it got very weird again. And a great example is nu metal. Korn and
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit are perfect
Hell yeah,
examples
dude,
of
rolling.
shit getting super fucking weird,
Dude,
and it
Limp
doesn't
Bizkit.
age worth a shit.
Dude, Limp Bizkit's got a song that's literally called Chocolate Starfish. Come on.
Yeah, you got Chocolate Starfish, you got Break Stuff. Like once it fell out of favor, it had this whole weird resurgence, rebirth period where like it sounds nothing like what rock was, but it still kind of is. And there's
Mhm.
all these weird subgenres. And I feel like those genres have now rematured. But at the time, we were saying, like, I feel like once it became mainstream, like, okay, it's matured. Like, it's good. It's like this shit slaps. But once it
Mhm.
like fell out of favor, it just like did this weird resurgence where like all these subgenres popped up, you know? So I don't know. I don't know if there's some like weird rebirth thing, but
Yeah,
is that
I
how
don't
it is
know.
in the EDM world?
I don't know cuz like I mean it's kind of hard to like separate it because I would argue that most pop music now is heavily electronic inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would argue even most music nowadays is electronically inspired because a lot of it isn't being generated using actual instruments, or if it is, it's used like with MIDI devices and the like. So it's kind of hard to like separate those two, but there's always going to be like more like mainstream, like heavier electronic music, and then less mainstream stuff. And it seems like, at least in my opinion, the more mainstream stuff is the stuff that gets like cringier faster because like they're following fads and the
The ages
like.
faster.
It
Yeah.
versus like with what you were talking about, Gabe, like new metal, when like it kind of like fell off like the popular pop music train, and then it kind of like went back down to like the depths of just like actual like fans, I'll call it. And then it has like time to, I don't know, be more creative. The artists have more flexibility because in all reality their labels are probably like not pushing them to create music that sounds the same.
Right.
And I don't know, I feel like when music's like, I don't know, see, now I'm kind of contradicting myself because now I'm
It's a
saying that.
double-edged sword, right? Because pop music can be dated because it sounds like everything else, but at the same time, when there are like underground, it makes it
Mhm.
more unique and more like there's some innovation because they need to sound different, right? So it's just
Right.
like
So I guess
I
like
don't know.
what yeah, I guess like what I'm trying to say is like if you're being creative with mature technology, then it'll probably have sticking power.
Mm,
Well, I think with music in particular, that's what Gabe said earlier, which is like music is probably the most diverse media. I mean, it's the most diverse. Like the amount of genres and just the amount of variety you can get in music is infinite. So
Mhm.
I think that because everyone's spread out, you're not getting cringe stuff as fast, because everyone's kind of moving slower
Right.
on their own. It's not like a one mainline thing
Mhm.
or two mainline things, but um, yeah, no, it's fascinating. Joseph, do you have anything that you can think of that's like ages poorly or well?
Poorly. Well, so I know we've talked about this before, but I've been watching Corridor Crew,
So
and
good.
they're an animation studio on YouTube, and so they do like animators or like VFX artists react, and it's super interesting to hear, someone who working on VFX and how their take on like special effects.
Hmm.
Where like they'll show like clips from an old movie, and in my head it's like, oh, this is old. I can see like why it's not like this doesn't look realistic. But then they'll be like, okay, well, sure, it could today compared to today's standards, this looks like shit, but it's actually pretty like the fundamentals that they use here are what we build upon. And like sure, like the textures are a little weird or like it's not as high definition, but the lighting on it is super good. And that's what, it's like the light source is, my light source right now is over here. So I've got, brighter light here and a shadow on this side. Whereas, if you put something in, you have to add that light. And if you
Hmm.
have that off, it just looks wrong immediately.
Yep.
But if you, like Jurassic Park, perfect example. like they use dark, or is dark for most of the scenes that you see the T-Rex, and it's directional lighting so that you can hide how terrible the T-Rex actually looks. You know, like like if you look at the model, if you like pause the movie in certain spots and like look at it, it's like, oh, that they did not like it's not that high definition. Like the movements are kind of wonky, you know, like it's pretty good, but it's not that great, you know. But like working with the tools you have and like just making it feel more grounded is really important. And like talking about older not even that older movies, but like Pirates of the Caribbean 2, Dead Man's Chest. The Davy Jones in that is
Insane.
phenomenal. Like that the octopus tentacles and like how dynamic he is and like the physics of it is just it's just so well done. And I saw another thing of speaking of Star Wars, um, again, but Revenge of the Sith, General Grievous, there's that scene where it zooms in on his eyes, and like it's a full zoom in where you go from like basically a shoulder shot in like to just his eyes, and like it just looks so it's seamless and it looks amazing. And like that was 2005, so like that's what 12 17 years, I can't do math. You know, that was quite a while. Not 17. That's very wrong.
No,
you're close.
Is it
17?
That's 17 years ago.
Yeah, that's right on the money.
Holy fuck, bro! I remember seeing that in theaters. Jesus.
I think you have a really good point. Like, I'm bad at math. You nail it. You're like, that's way off.
It's gotta be newer than that.
Self-doubting, intrusive thought there.
Yeah. I did the math again in my head. Like, no, it's wrong. Just roll with it.
Right.
But you know, like,
I think
but then you look at other movies, big budget movies that came out that same year, and it's like, sure, the animation itself they probably dumped more money into it, or you know, certain things, but like it just ages because again, like what Dayton was saying of matured technology, you know, and knowing what you can and cannot do to like actually make it look worthwhile.
But it's what you're saying, Jeff. Like, it's not just about the technology; it's about how talented other people are using the technology. Because they say on Corridor a lot, like the goal of the VFX and special effects in movies is to not take you out of it. That if it doesn't take you out of the scene, then it did its job. And there are still a lot of clips that show from old movies that still look great, and they look great because people working on the movies were fucking talented as shit. Like they had what they had, and they knew exactly how to like put all the potential into it. And like you said, Joseph, you could have a big budget movie that with not as talented people, and the lighting's off, so like a CG character sticks out like a sore thumb, right?
Yeah.
So I think with movies in particular, it does come more down to, I mean, budget, but like talent and effort by the team, and that helps it have more staying power, I think. But one thing I wanted to touch on that isn't technology related is comedy. So I feel like comedy can either age very poorly or very well, depending on. I think it's kind of just politics ages poorly because it moves so fast in the real world, whereas things that are apolitical can be funny forever. Like Who's on First, I think is still funny as shit, right? That's never gonna not be funny. But anything just in the political sphere, it's like, okay, I don't want to listen to the George Bush jokes right now. Like that's not it's not relevant. But I'm curious you guys' takes on comedy in this kind of sphere.
I think that's very accurate. I got through a Twitter thread today that was, what are some of your favorite Mitch Hedberg quotes that you think about every day? And it's like, I'm scrolling through it, and like I watched a little bit of Mitch Hedberg when I was in middle school. You know, I think it was right around when he died. But like, you know, so like I'm familiar with him, and like obviously reading it in his voice. If you're familiar with him, you know what I'm talking about. But if you're not, you should listen to a couple clips. His delivery is fantastic, and it's all observational humor.
And it's all like one-liners, or like one or two-liners. So it's super fast.
It's relevant. It's like, I think you should leave in that way, where it's like, it's super quotable, you know, and it's funnier when you're saying it to your friend, you know, and you know, it's just, that has pretty good staying power, I would say. Because again, apolitical and like just quick deliveries, and it's just basic, observational humor, which, you know, anyone can see pretty quickly and agree, or not agree with, but like
you relate to.
relate to. That's the word.
Dane, look, you had something to say there.
Yeah, I just feel like the political stuff is like your quick laugh, right? Like it just kind of shows like almost like laziness, I would say, where it's like you're taking so much inspiration from just like current events that it's never gonna last. And this kind of goes back to like I know that we've talked about with music, like music that talks about current events. Like I think that we talked about it like I don't know, like 6 or 8 months into COVID, how like
we're
some
talking like COVID songs and stuff.
yeah, COVID songs. Those are gonna have terrible staying power. Those things they're probably already outdated to be honest. But like if you, I'll just keep on with like the I think you should leave like thread where like they create the entire scenario, right? They create all of the context that you need to understand the jokes, right? And I think that's why they have so much staying power in that scenario versus like your George W. Bush joke, right? Like if somebody doesn't know who George W. Bush is, like if somebody who was born in 2004, like they're not going to know really who George W. Bush is or know what he did as a president, or even if he was a president, who the hell knows? So like it just alienates a lot of people.
Yeah, that's the goal of sketch comedy, right? Is to have the self-contained scene. That's what good sketch comedy is. Like I give you everything you need and nothing. You don't need anything going in.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Gabe.
No, I was gonna talk about the context thing, right? Like I think the thing about those political jokes is in a perfect world there is no context needed except like because a lot of the times like I think of SNL as like politic or political jokes where it's like it's done every week, like it's very quick, so it's like okay, here's what's happened, like you have the context from your own personal experience that this is happening, so like we don't need to do the setup, we can just do the punchline of the joke, right? Where like sketch comedy has to have a setup unless I guess it's a political sketch comedies, which happens all the time, but you know what I'm saying, like those require to like have setup, so I think context is pretty important. It can definitely affect um how comedy is done, but at the same time I've seen some really weird and fun meta comedy where it uses the context of you knowing things have aged poorly and like done like sketches on like previous eras or decades or something that I mean there you are required to know information, but it'll make fun of how poorly things age or something like that. That's really fun. So
yeah, I think we kind of found it as like the less context you need to laugh, the longer it'll last. That's really what it comes down to. Like if you can get everything self-contained in that joke, then it'll last forever. But if you need a lot of context coming in, then it'll be poor. But I think the reason people do make political jokes because they do get you think it's a quick laugh, but it's like it's a consistent laugh, and it's usually a pretty large laugh. Whereas if you do like kind of a apolitical joke, it might not be as big of a laugh, but it's be more consistent over time. So it's kind of like a trade-off.
I think jokes also require a lot of relatability. Like I think of a lot of stand-up comedians, and almost everything has to revolve around relatability or like an illusion of relatability. I mean, you see like comedians who will lean like super heavy into like their stereotypes, right? As part of the joke, like, oh, I'm like the nerdy guy, so let's make fun of the fact that I'm nerd. Like they'll like kind of like shoot themselves in the foot for the sake of a laugh. But like there's some like me IRL kind of like relatability to it. And I think like all jokes need some level of that. And it's really easy for a political joke to be like, oh, we're all in this shitty scenario, whatever. So and so did this, like we're all going through this terrible time. But you can use that relatability in a different way that I think makes it age well, right? Or there are times where sometimes people just get lucky and will write jokes who happen to have like decades of humor because shit didn't change and they were making fun of it not changing, or like they were talking about something very topical at the time and it aged very well for them. So I think some of comedy is luck.
Yeah, for sure. Last thing I want to touch on, because you made me think of it, Gabe, is memes. we've talked about memes before on this podcast of like how are memes made, but like I feel like the thing about memes is that the joke it's making could last forever, but the format can be cringe. If it's not a modern format, it's not funny, which is just fascinating. Like the method of delivery is the thing that is holding things back. Because you could have, and it's also very like I mean, all humor is subjective. I know people like Max who just love deep fried memes, and I'm just like, I can't. It's not my style of humor. You know,
so good.
And I don't know if there's been a lot of progression in the deep fried space in those formats, but like we'll get the same. It'd be the same exact joke every 2 years, but the format's updated slightly, so we laugh every time. You know, it's weird.
But part of it, I think, and what I get out of it, is the fact that you've made the same joke in a different way. Kind of like, okay, here's this new thing. Oh yeah, the joke itself might not be funny. It's the fact that you're retelling it in a different and like creatively using this new method to tell like a comfortable joke, I'll say, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. The fun with memes is more the creativity of the format as opposed to the joke itself.
Yeah.
I feel like memes in general are pretty disposable. Like that's the whole point. Like they're all very
topical. They're meant to last.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good
point. Mean, you think of even like Chris Rock memes were huge a month ago. I haven't seen one in 2 weeks. I don't know if you guys have.
Yeah, or the Vin Diesel like we're family.
Yeah,
ones that were literally like popular for like 2 days and then they vanished off the face of the planet.
I don't think memes are meant to have staying power. I can't think of a singular meme that's lasted more than 5 years. I mean, personally, besides maybe Drake and Never Gonna Give You Up meme, which is being Rickrolled, right?
I mean, that was the original meme, so it can never be defeated.
Yeah, I just think in general they're disposable, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's just fascinating. I think it's so interesting how media evolves and changes over time, and we decide, nope, you're bad now, get out of here. But hopefully it helps people.
Slapping Chris Rock was so last month.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean a lot of it is technology we talked about, and that'll always improve. But will people know how to use it is the question. So, all right, well that was a nice little meaty podcast for y'all. We'll see you again in a month. But yeah, as always, you can find our show on YouTube and podcast services. Don't forget to follow us and all the things. Links are in the description below. But until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.